the shelf looks full, but the story runs deep. From the port to the store where the whole world keeps. Every box got a mile, every mile got a cost. And the people in the middle know what time can toss. One delay, then 10 more calls. One small break can shake it all. Let's talk supply chain. From the factory floor to the trucks in the rain and the ship at shore.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Thoughts and Coffee. I'm back from vacation, and I'm super excited for the show today. We've got Jake from Gnosis Freight here, and we're going to be talking about some big topics. We're going to be talking about war risk insurance. We're going to be talking about the latest FMC drama. Plus, we're going to be talking about AI promise versus AI reality. But of course, before we do that, we need to let you know what's going on at Let's Talk Supply Chain. If you are tuning in, I want to know where you're tuning in from. Make sure that you put that in the comments. And then, of course, if you like the conversation, we love a good fire emoji here as well. So make sure to put those in the comments as well. And then we want to give a shout out to our show sponsor, Secret Society of Supply Chain. That is our free membership group. If you have not signed up yet, we have over 500 professionals in there, and they are talking about all sorts of hot topics, and they're helping each other out. The connections are being made. You do not want to miss out on that. And I want to give a shout out to all of our newest members. All right, let's get to our first. Oh, wait a second. Here we go. All right. We've got a brand new episode. This is episode 556. Now, this is with Dan Gartner. If you don't know Dan Gartner, you need to go and listen to this episode. He is with Trade Facilitators, and he's talking about total landed costs. Now, we've talked about this before on the show and on the podcast, but this is a little bit different. He's talking about the AI applications for global supply chain management and how it's helping with total landed costs. So, of course, you can go and check this out on Apple, on Spotify. We're also over on YouTube. We're getting some great feedback on that particular episode as well. And then we've got a brand new episode. Now, the links are going to come a little bit later on today, but this episode is 557. I recorded this on site at Samsara's Beyond conference, and it was great. They had a whole podcast booth set up. You're going to go and see that in the video on YouTube. And one of the key things from this particular conversation that has stuck with me is what the Post-it notes say about your customers. But you're going to have to go and listen or watch the episode to find out more. But it's not something that I ever thought about, and it's probably going to change your perspective. So go and check that one out. All right. What else do we have next? We have a brand new episode from Let's Talk Supply Chain Asia, and we've got Dr. Mudis here on that particular episode. He's talking about the danger of internet-trained AI with Faujan, who's our host in Asia. If you haven't checked us out, go to Let's Talk Supply Chain Asia on LinkedIn. We also have a playlist on our YouTube channel as well, so you can go and see that episode too. Now, where are we going to be? So DC, she hosts digital labs for Let's Talk Supply Chain, and she's doing an in-person workshop in New York. This is something you do not want to miss, especially if you do last mile delivery. This is talking about designing better post-purchase delivery experiences. Now, the date is on August 11th in New York from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. There are limited spots for this. So if you want to go and check that out, we're going to put the link in the comments and you can go ahead and register. I'm also going to be speaking at the Logistics M&A Club. That's September 16th through 17th in Chicago. And then I'm also going to be in Ohio, Defiance, Ohio, for the Keller Logistics Summit. I'm going to be recording some podcasts on site. And I'm also going to be on stage with some of these amazing people talking about what's happening in logistics. And then this fall, we are going to be in a couple of conferences and events in London with Let's Talk Supply Chain Europe. That's right. Hazel is going to be in attendance. She's also going to be speaking on stage and representing Let's Talk Supply Chain Europe. She's going to be doing that at Parcel and Post Expo September 23rd through 24th in London. And then I'm going to be at the Inland Distribution Conference with JOC September 28th through the 30th. I'm going to be back in Chicago twice in September. And then Hazel is going to be at the Leaders in Logistics event October 6th through 7th. That's also in London as well. So if you're going to be there, make sure to come say hi to me, say hi to Hazel. We are excited to be expanding into Europe. And then, of course, last but not least, we're going to be at Manifest. They've got some early bird specials right now. So if you do not have your registration yet, click the link. Go get your registration because you're not going to want to miss this particular event happening February 8th through 10th. Pretty sure Gnosis is going to be there too. So I want to give that a shout out. And then in the Secret Society of Supply Chain, we've got a workshop. AI is easier than you think. Now, this is a hands-on build workshop for members only. So go and sign up for secretsocietyofsupplychain.com and sign up for this. This is happening tomorrow. Wednesday, August 5th, 4:30 to 5:30. I think that's Central Time. And then we've got a couple of new programs that we have on our Woman in Supply Chain page for you to check out. This is specifically for executive women in supply chain. So go and check that out. And we've got the link in the comments for you. And then last but not least, our team was at the Dematic warehouse opening, grand opening, their solutions center. Abby was there and she got to check everything out. So we're going to put the link to the full video and the full walkthrough in the comments as well for you, because that was a lot of fun. All right. Well, now it's time to turn it over to Camille. Let's introduce Jake.
You track every container. Every milestone turns green on your screen. Then a storage bill lands and surprises you. More visibility does not fix that. Your team still watches the same problems happen again. Today's guest has spent nearly a decade closing that exact gap between seeing a problem and fixing it. In 2017, Jake Hoffman had an offer waiting for him in quant trading in Chicago. Gnosis Freight CEO Austin McCombs convinced him to walk away and bet on logistics instead. Jake said yes. He helped build the company's container lifestyle management platform from the very beginning. Nearly a decade later, he leads the company's entire data and technology vision as its chief technology officer. His belief is simple: visibility only matters if your system knows what to do next. Please welcome the chief technology officer at Gnosis Freight, Jake Hoffman. Sarah, he's all yours.
Thanks, Camille, and welcome, Jake. So what did you think of our introduction with Camille?
I look great in that video. That was pretty cool. All the cool screens and everything, and my chin looked a little chiseled there. That was pretty awesome.
That is the feedback that we get every single time. We want that character.
Yeah, seriously.
That's so funny.
Where Austin negotiated with me to come and work at Gnosis as opposed to going to Chicago, it didn't exactly look like that, where I was wearing a suit and in the stock exchange and everything happening, but we can pretend that's how it was.
I mean, listen, nobody knows what happens. That's between the two of you, and we just created, the event as how we saw it. So, so welcome to Thoughts and Coffee, Jake. I've been wanting to have Gnosis on the show for a very, very long time. And so I'm super excited to have you here. Now, we didn't talk too much about Gnosis, and I want to tell everybody, if you want to learn a little bit more throughout the show today, we've got the QR code in the top right-hand corner. But do you want to give us a little bit of an overview, Jake, just before we get into the poll?
Sure. Yeah. So I think Gnosis started, like it said, in 2017, and we originally were kind of a consulting arm of a freight forwarder. We were helping them automate internal processes. Somehow that transitioned into, hey, we can do all these things, but we don't have good container tracking data. So we started to figure out, can we go source container tracking data in the market and kind of connect it to their systems? We figured out we could. We found a couple of providers, and we eventually were like, hey, the providers are good, but it's super important that we get really as close to the data as possible. So we went to do it ourselves. And then in working with freight forwarders, we learned that, hey, their customers, the end customer, the BCO, would find a ton of value. So the consignee, the person that's getting the final container, would find a ton of value in us being able to stitch all their shipments together, where it's booked with that freight forwarder directly with an ocean carrier or whoever. And that developed our CLM product, our core product, which was we are the catch-all for international import visibility for the shippers. That was probably 2020, 2021, COVID. Demurrage detention was spiking everywhere, and we gave them the capability to kind of see those things happening in real time and triage that and kind of negate that. And then since then, we've developed a destination management tool for dispatching delivery orders to drayage carriers, freight auditing. So doing all the things where we're visibility to the entire supply chain. What about the financial aspect of that? And then most recently, and I know some of the things that we're going to talk about today have to do with FMC and OSRA, as we've taken that model of understanding demurrage and detention super well, and then flipped it to where we're actually helping ocean carriers and terminals and everybody understand the data to a deeper level than they ever have before. And that's primarily due to FMC OSRA 22 and all the implications that come with that. So that's spent a ton of time on recently, and I'm super excited to talk about that today.
Well, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in depth and why that's important because of the new FMC drama and ruling that just happened. And people need to know about it. So before we do that, and we're going to get into a market update in just a second, we do ask everybody a poll question every single Wednesday morning. And so I want to go over this and just get your thoughts on, what transpired. If you didn't answer the poll, feel free to put your answer in the comments and we will get to you. But the question was, what's preventing supply chains from scaling AI today? Now, this is such a big question. We had 124 votes. It's still going. I think we've got a couple more days on this. 40% said legacy systems and integration. Are we still there in 2026? It looks like with 40% of you, yes, we are. 28% data readiness challenges. We're going to be talking about that today as well. 17% unclear business ROI, 15% change management issues. Now, does this surprise you at all? Is this what you're seeing? Like, what are you hearing from customers?
This doesn't surprise me. It's like I've talked to a couple of customers, and everybody has a legacy system. You have to have a legacy system if you're a company that's been around for longer than a few years, right? It's an ERP system, it's an old TMS, whatever it is. That is how you've been operating. And so the companies that I talk to that have these legacy systems and want to do things with AI, I always encourage them, and a lot of them figure it out on their own, is like, get your data in a place that it can talk externally. So whether that's a data warehouse, like putting it in something like a Snowflake or something else, or like just make an API on top of it. If you can do those things and kind of bring your legacy system, like there's like a step function internally where you can do those things, then every integration, the second part of that is legacy system and integration. Every integration could theoretically be a self-serve to the customer, or could be an easy, hey, here's our API documentation, go use this, or use our EDI spec. And so it's doing the work up front to put your data in a place to get it ready, that then you can do all the integrations and everything after that, like in 1 hour instead of 10, right?
Yeah. Well, and time back, like I used to be in logistics, right? I used to handle I used to have a pile of files that I would have to go through and track and update and all that kind of stuff. And so giving time back also is such a big, important step, especially for logistics companies. There's so many things that are going on. There's so many things that they have to keep on top of. And the more we can automate and make it less manual, the better. But the data readiness is key. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. What else are you hearing from customers? Like if we talk about a little bit of a market update, what else are you hearing from them? What's keeping them up at night? What is something that they are, really talking about at events or when you're talking to them one-on-one on the phone?
I think no surprise to anyone, tariffs, uncertainty, geopolitical risks and tensions and everything else. That's probably the first thing the past couple of years with everything that's been happening in the market, that even if we want to talk about AI and everything else, we have a couple of customers that say, hey, that's really cool, or prospects even, hey, that's really cool, and we'd love to do what you guys are talking about. But right now, our costs just went up 60%. And so I've got to figure out how to do that. So I have no budget to do anything and even improve internal processes because of this thing. And also, by the way, it might be taken away due to a new geopolitical agreement or something. And so let's just wait and see what happens there. That's one of the natural things that we hear from customers. But then also there's all the AI stuff that's in the market. It's still unknown in a lot of instances, like what's good and what's bad, but it is flooding the market. Any of our customers hear every single day, you need to buy AI. You need to use this new AI agent that does these things, or else you're going to fall behind and all those kind of things. And so they are it's interesting is like, it's almost like every conversation goes, it's like, hey, here's the problem we have. Can you guys solve it? Yes, yes. Okay. Also, what about AI? And it's almost like a little like carrot at the end that they like have to ask and have to throw out there because it's a checkbox. It's like, hey, yes, we have AI, but every single person we talk to always asks about it. So it's something that we're very prepared to answer.
Well, and I think they are getting the questions, right? They're getting the questions from the C-suite, but I almost feel like we don't have the foundation ready for it. And like I said, we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show, but that's really, really important. And the foundation is not just the data, it's also your AI playbook. You know, what are you allowing your team to do? What can they do with it? Where can they go for it? Are they using your system? Are they using a team environment? Are they, connecting all of the platforms that they're using? I mean, there is a lot that goes into this, and AI governance, I think, is a big topic as well. All right, let's get into.
I was about to say the governance part.
Yeah. Well, and I just did that with my team, right? An AI playbook, like AI governance. This is what it looks like. This is how you're going to use it. This is how we're going to build the team environment. And I think there's a lot of applications and we need to understand as a company where that starts for us and not go directly to the middle. And then obviously the pilots don't work. And we're going to talk about that. All right, Absolutely. Let's get to our first article. Now, this article is about the newest FMC ruling around detention. Now, when you talk about detention and demurrage, everybody in logistics goes, right? Because it's such a necessary, I don't want to say evil, but it's one of those charges where you're like, did I have to pay it? How can I avoid it for next time? And there's so much that goes into it. There's a lot of data that goes into it. Now, this one was over a $510 charge. I mean, the amount of time spent on this ruling, and it's for $510, but it actually means a lot to the industry. And what it means is the Port of Savannah was closed for 3 days, and they weren't allowed to return an empty container. And so therefore, they were charged detention charges, but the FMC came back and said, well, the port was closed. They couldn't deliver it back. You can't charge them for that. And they didn't have any costs to show against it as well. Jake, what do you think about this particular article?
Well, first off, I'll say I know that the article is around the Evergreen and TCW case, and shout out to TCW. We're super close with those guys over there. Gary, Steve, good. Hopefully you guys listen to this, and shout out to you guys for that. I'll say the 3 days where you can't return an empty to a port is probably the most black and white and like tip of the iceberg in terms of all the different things that can happen. There's all the stuff that we hear on a day-to-day basis. This is the most simple black and white. It's great that they fought this, and it makes perfect sense as like to establish precedents, even though it's just $500. The implications of it are hundreds of millions of dollars probably, and great orders of magnitude way beyond this. We are at the center of this a ton now, where we used to be, as I talked about at the beginning, we used to just be on the BCO side of helping them understand charges and where they're coming from and everything else. We got so good at calculating when demurrage and detention are actually applicable according to OSRA and FMC's laws and everything else that we've actually flipped, and we work with the ocean carriers directly through a product called the Container Payment Portal. It's a co-developed product between Gnosis and PayCargo. Really, essentially what it is we look at all the data of like where the container milestones that everybody's used to seeing, but then map that up against all the reasons why you should ever be charged or shouldn't ever be charged. And I'm saying all this into a lot of detail as it's extremely complicated. And so the FMC ruling is hey, this is what should happen. That this is the way that things should happen and what you should charge for and should not. But just because the ruling happened, that doesn't mean the ocean carriers, the terminals, or really anybody has the data necessary to make that work in real time. Right. And so that's where take the example is a gate schedule. The example of where it was empty detention in Savannah, the Savannah closed, that's like an operational thing. But was there a perfect data row in an Excel sheet that said on, I think it was Memorial Day, this is closed, so therefore these containers you can't? No, that doesn't exist. There's no overlapping data record of all these things happening where it's easy for an ocean carrier or the customer or a drayage carrier in this case to actually audit against those things. Yeah.
And one of the things that kept coming to my mind throughout all of this was sort of question everything, right? You're going to have to go back to them and ask them to prove that they should be charging you for detention charges. And I think it's not going to just come down to the carrier. I think your customers are going to want you to do that as well. So definitely go check out the link in the comments. Want to give a shout out. We've got a couple people over on my personal Instagram. We've got Teresa, Omar, and Writers Global. And we've got Mike over on my personal LinkedIn as well. Well, now it's time to go to the news desk. So Diane and Julian, take it away. I'd love to hear what's happening in supply chain this week.
We've got 3 stories today, and each one changes what something costs somebody.
Pick your poison. Tariffs wreck margins, a verdict wrecks a broker, and hackers wreck Japan's chicken supply.
The U.S. swapped one tariff regime for another, hitting 60 countries with new 10% to 12.5% duties.
The old 10% global tariff hit its 150-day limit and expired at 12:01 a.m. on July 24. New duties began that same moment.
China and 37 others pay a flat 12.5%. The EU, Japan, and Korea land near 10%, with oil, gas, and USMCA goods exempt.
This covers 99.4% of all U.S. imports overnight. Brazil and China are already calling it protectionism and are pushing back through trade channels.
Every importer needs to recheck landed costs against this new rate map. Sourcing from China or Vietnam without USMCA cover costs more.
Next, a Dallas jury awarded $604 million on July 23 against freight broker C.H. Robinson over a fatal 2021 crash.
Jurors pinned 23% of blame directly on Robinson, then ruled the driver was Robinson's borrowed employee, raising its share to 68%, or about $411 million.
This is the first major test of broker liability since the Supreme Court's Montgomery ruling stripped away the legal shield that brokers relied on.
Robinson plans to appeal, and the verdict stays advisory. But every broker should recheck carrier vetting and insurance now. Last one. A ransomware attack knocked out chicken supply nationwide at KFC Japan.
Hackers hit Nichirei's cold chain business,
And thousands of downstream stores feel it within days.
Nichirei has since restored operations, but if you lean on one cold chain vendor, build a backup route and demand a ransomware response plan.
Every one of these stories comes down to risk nobody priced in until the invoice showed up.
Sarah, back to you.
Well, those are some big stories. I want to just focus really quickly on the KFC story because that cyber attack took them down for 1 week. That's a logistics company with 5,000 customers, took them down for 1 full week. I think it happened July 15th. And this particular article came out July 22nd saying that they were back online and everything was great. But I can only imagine how much that week cost them.
Absolutely. And I mean, I've heard the horror stories of some of the well-known names in our logistics space, freight forwarders, terminal operators, and so on that have cyber attacks happen. And so it happens and it's terrible. And that's just a reminder to everybody out there is like the digital infrastructure that you have. It's not just about, can it automate this or that? It's also got to be super secure and cyber secure. So that's very important.
And who you work with. All right, let's get to our next article. Now, Gnosis wrote this one, and it's about operational grade data, the foundation of AI in global logistics. Now, there's a couple of things that you talk about that we've already sort of mentioned on the show already, right? Everybody is selling AI within their technology solution. But mistakes are going to be made if the data foundation is not correct. One of the things that you talk about here is AI promise versus AI reality. What does that mean?
I was asked a question last week or a couple of weeks ago, like, what are people getting right about AI and logistics and what are people getting wrong? 100% correct. The hype is, as in AI is going to change things. It's already changed everything. I mean, we've seen talked about a lot of it today already. It is changing everything. The thing that people kind of get wrong is that they forget that like the data has to be good and is the most important part for this AI to make any decisions and do anything that's worthwhile. If AI is incredible, but the underlying data model that says a container is ready for pickup is wrong, then AI automates and goes and tells a trucker to go pick it up and do all these things, and then it's wrong, and it's a super, super expensive mistake. And that's where the people are still needed right now, like kind of on the margins of verifying things and talking and relationships and all those kind of things are kind of there. But if you get the operational grade data right, you know actually when a container is available to be picked up, when does the demurrage clock start, was there no appointment available that, you know, hey, I tried to go pick it up on this day and I couldn't, so I shouldn't be charged for that. Those are the kind of things that are super important, that if you have that right, then the AI is incredibly powerful and can automate and make decisions and do everything else.
Yeah, another line in this article that I really liked, it's failure. The failure is death by 1,000. I was going to say cuts, but I think you guys say small incidents or small things. And it's not just failure. It's not just the system failure like you're talking about right now. It's the failure in the trust of the team in the platform because they think it doesn't work. when in reality, it's the foundation and the data readiness. How do you explain data readiness? And how do you avoid this? I think in this article near the end, you also talk about what questions people should be asking, especially if they're technology providers, so that they know that this is the right fit for them right now, right? It's not the right fit necessarily down the road. That has to be taken into consideration. But right now, where we are as an organization, are we ready for this?
So I think a term that Michael Rentz, our CRO that you know well, he has coined and we talk about a lot is data sovereignty. It's like who owns a lot of the data. So like the data, when a container gets unloaded from a terminal, you could think that, the terminal themselves owns it, the ocean carrier owns it because they're paying the terminal and moving the container. And then the shipper, the BCO at the end of the food chain that's getting that container, they own it too. But then the BCO has a lot of their own sovereign data that goes with that incorporates into decision making. And you think if you're a logistics operator at a large importer, you're looking at when containers are available and what's going to cost money and everything else. But you're also marrying that with reality of, I got to fill these purchase orders at these individual stores or to a retailer, depending on how your supply chain's working. And so if you own all that data and you have the capability to kind of bring all those things together, then AI can make really good decisions and amplify things on top of it. And so the operational grade data for us, the data readiness that you referred to, is making sure that container stuff, all the stuff in logistics, is correct enough that you can make intelligent decisions when pairing it with your purchase order information, your orders, your sales, and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times that's not just where is the container, but there's a whole parallel information stream of appointment availability, customs holds, demurrage detention. Is it like stuck under a stack in the yard? Is the terminal going to close tomorrow because it snowed in Houston? That there's stuff like that happens. So the reality of the physical world that's impacting container movement, how do you make data around that and use it to make decisions?
Awesome. And I think also what you were also talking about, and I talk about this too, collaboration is the future of business. You've already mentioned PayCargo once, but you've also partnered with a couple of other platforms within the industry to come together to handle a lot of these data points and timelines and milestones that need to happen to be able to have the data so you can make those decisions. One quick question though, knowledge of being in the industry, how does that come into play to understand that you have the right data to be able to use AI properly to make the right decisions?
There is the people in our industry are amazing in the fact that they have so much knowledge about how things work. Tying together the example is like, if we give you an ETA on a container, which is what everybody asks for, is like, we want a better ETA and I want to know this stuff. Well, there's something else behind there. There's a reason why. You can kind of pull it out of these logistics teams and these operators that have so much knowledge in their head, and you get them to think, okay, why do I need a better ETA? It's because maybe they're planning labor at their warehouse, and if they get it wrong and hire 12 temporary workers to come in and unload containers on Friday, but the container's actually not going to get there till Monday, that's an expensive mistake. And so there's always this going beyond just the whatever the data point that they're asking for that makes it super important. And that's where, we are a software company. We sell software to customers, but we also deploy engineers with every one of our customers to work in our customer systems to try to pull that out to help them more. It's like, hey, we know you guys want better ETAs. We know that the last free day and avoiding demurrage and detention is super important to you, but what's next? Like, what are you using this for? Are you taking our data, putting it in a spreadsheet and doing something else? Well, we don't want you to have to do that. Can we help you automate this process so that you can think creatively and talk to more customers and grow the business, right? There's so many other things that you do beyond that. And I think that's where Gnosis is a little bit unique in getting super deep with our customers, that we're able to use the industry knowledge and pair it with the technical knowledge of the coders and everybody that we have on our team to make solutions that really work for everybody that we work with.
Yeah, I always say if freight's not moving, you're losing money.
There you go.
Well, if freight's not moving because you're making bad decisions, you've got some money on the table, and we gotta change that. All right, I want to give a shout out to Mahima, Calix Logistics, and Shri over on my Let's Talk Supply Chain Insta. We've got Mohammed over on my personal LinkedIn as well. We've only got about 30 seconds left, and so I'm going to pop this one up really quick. This was the last article that I really wanted to bring to everybody's attention. Jake, real quick, what's one or two things that people will get from this article?
I think the trade-off between going through the Red Sea or something that is a war zone and there's war risk insurance that's on here. There's premiums associated with that. And a lot of times it's like, how long is the vessel in this zone? And that makes the costs of the insurance go up. But then the alternative is you route around the Cape of Good Hope, you add 10 to 14 days. So there's fuel costs, there's operational costs, there's transit time delay, costs of goods in transit. And so it's a really interesting give and take on, insurance premium for taking on risk versus the time it takes to do something else. And so using data like we do, or like other providers in the market would do to help you make those decisions in real time becomes more and more important so that you can appropriately choose A or B.
Yeah, totally. Really want to let everybody know to go to this article and read it through. You might not think that this has anything to do with you, but it has everything to do if you are moving cargo by ocean freight. And you need to know who the steamship line is, who they're affiliated to, and that actually changes all of your premiums, which I didn't know until I read this article. So we're going to put the link in the comments so you can go and check it out. We are a little bit over time. So Jake, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today on Thoughts and Coffee. This has been such a great episode. I also want to thank everybody who's been across the internet watching us and listening to us, made some comments. We gave you some shout outs. The QR code in the top right-hand side will give you some more information about Gnosis. But Jake, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Sarah. Really enjoyed it. And I'll see you at one of those conferences you talked about, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk supply chain.